Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary compatriots. I'm Ray Frickard, and welcome back to Superhero Kill Counts. Today, we'll be taking a look at the very first of many prequels in the X-Men franchise, X-Men Origins Wolverine, released in 2009 and directed by Gavin Hood. Now, say what you want about this movie, but this is the first director in the series so far that doesn't have disgusting allegations against him, so good job, Gavin. With the Phoenix Saga bringing a pretty definitive end to the original X-Men, Fox needed a way to continue raking in that sweet X money, and what better way to move forward than to go backward? In time? In quality? Same difference. The original script for this movie aimed for an R rating with a strong connection to various Wolverine comic arcs, and it was intended to be a more character-driven story to flesh out Logan. This all changed over time, and the end result is honestly pretty messy. But does it at least feature a decent body count? Let's find out. The film begins in Canada, 1845, where a young James Howlett, played by a teenage Troye Sivan, yes, that Troye Sivan, is bedridden because he's down with the sickness. Little Jimmy is hanging out with his edgelord buddy Victor Creed when Jimmy's dad John walks into the room to check up on him, and oh boy does he not approve of his son's choice of friends. The parental checkup is interrupted, however, by Victor's dad, Thomas Logan, banging on the door demanding to talk to John's wife Elizabeth. John rushes downstairs to see what's going on, and James listens from his bedroom. He hears a gunshot that arose such a clatter, so he springs from his bed to see what was the matter. And yeah, we are only 2 minutes into this movie, and the kill count kicks off with John Howlett having just been shot dead by Thomas Logan. As James rushes to the side of his dead parental figure, he gets super pissed and grows some gnarly bone claws, which he promptly then uses to plunge into the gut of Thomas as he delivers his big secret.
He wasn't your father. Son.
Thomas Logan, you are the father. But James isn't a big fan of Maury, so as his biological dad falls to the ground dead, and his mother looks on in disgust, James runs away from home and into the woods. But instead of finding James Corden in those woods, he finds Victor. Victor tells Jimmy that Thomas deserved to die, and they make a pact to protect each other, as brothers until the end. Now do you see why I mentioned how weird it was that Sabretooth didn't recognize Wolverine in the first movie?
We stick together no matter what.
Liar!
As a search party draws closer to them, they run as fast as they can and stumble into a montage. It's a really cool opening credits sequence as we see James and Victor, now aged into Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber, fight through multiple generations of war. This is also the best part of the movie, just so you know what we're getting into. During the American Civil War, one Union soldier gets impaled with a bayonet. I thought I saw Confederate soldiers get killed, however upon closer inspection I noticed that one of them is pushed over, and the one dude just straight up trips. No gunshot or anything. It's no wonder these guys lost. However, we do see 3 soldiers get caught in an explosion, so I'm gonna count them. During World War I, we see the death of one pilot whose plane crashes, 2 corpses of soldiers who died by unknown means, 2 soldiers get shot, and 2 more are slashed by Victor Creed. At the invasion of Normandy in World War II, right off the bat, we see 8 soldiers shot or blown up, followed by Victor throwing one off a vantage point before he slashes another one and guns down 2 more. This takes us up to date with the Vietnam War. We see by this point that James has grown tired of Victor's excessive mercilessness, and all of this culminates when Victor attempts to attack an innocent Vietnamese woman before his fellow soldiers arrive to stop him. This causes Victor to partake in some friendly acupuncture, on a senior officer. As James rushes to stop Victor, they're both surrounded and sentenced to death by firing squad. But, as we all figured by this point, that doesn't quite work on either of them. It's here that we see another familiar face, Major William Stryker. Familiar in that he was already in the movies, unfamiliar in that now he's played by Danny Huston, as opposed to Brian Cox from X2. Danny Huston would also go on to appear in the first good film of DC's extended universe, Wonder Woman. Stryker is intrigued by the duo's ability to survive certain death, and he offers them a job. Turns out, Stryker is forming a special ops team comprised solely of mutants, mutants. This team, known as Team X, consists of Chris Bradley, or Bolt, who can manipulate electricity, Strongman Fred Dukes, John Race, or Kestrel, a teleporter who's got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night, Stryker's right-hand man and sharpshooter David North, also known as Agent Zero, and a vastly inferior version of Wade Wilson, played by Ryan Reynolds. Fun fact, Ryan Reynolds despised this film's adaptation of Deadpool, and he only agreed to do it because the studio promised him a Deadpool solo movie in return. I have no idea why this Deadpool is on a team of mutants, considering that this is Wade Wilson before he has a healing factor. I don't know, maybe his ability is super quips.
Granted, it's probably not as intimidating as having a gun or bone claws or the fingernails of a bag lady.
They touch down in Nigeria, where we think, hey, maybe the Stryker guy can't really be trusted, because he doesn't even tell his entire team what the objective is before running headfirst into battle. That's poor leadership skills, Willie. Zero is sent into the target area first, where he racks up more kills in a second than the first X-Men movie had in its entire runtime, by taking out 8 soldiers. He uses his magic bullets to take out 9 more, before the rest of the team rolls in. Victor begins to scale the building, while Fred punches a tank to death because at this point, sure, why not? As Team X experiences some elevator trouble, we do get some quality PG-13 Wade Wilson humor.
You're up next.
Thank you, sir. You look really nice today. It's the green. Brings out the seriousness in your eyes.
Oh my God, you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake.
Before Bolt gets them to the top floor where they have to be. It's here that we see the first kills of a man who will go on to wreak havoc in the kill count later on down the line.
Wade fucking Wilson.
Wade does the most extra katana moves of all time, which would go on to be parodied in Deadpool 2, by slicing and ricocheting bullets, killing 8 soldiers and leaving their commander fair game.
Okay. People are dead.
I know they are, Wade, I just counted. Turns out this commander has a big old clump of adamantium that Stryker really wants. This guy's only using it as a paperweight, but he tells Stryker where he found it. This leads Team X to a nearby village, where they interrogate the locals to find the source of this mysterious metal meteorite. They seek out the man who found it, and Stryker promises to kill every single person in this village if he doesn't get the answer he's looking for. James is like, what the fuck, dude? But Victor is all for senseless violence. When the man refuses to give up its location, Stryker and Victor go for the kill, but before he can manage it, one woman tries a daring escape. This results in a total frenzy where James tackles Agent Zero and stops Victor before he can add another victim to our list.
We didn't sign up for this.
I was debating on counting the village chief as dead, but I've seen him counted in other kill counts, so I'm gonna put him in here too. James and Victor have a brotherly spat, and James quits the team once and for all. Don't worry guys, I'm sure you'll be back on good terms soon enough. We've all been there. And maybe Victor will let you play the Xbox this time. Oh no, it's been 6 years. Okay. 6 years later, James is living in a quaint little place in the Rockies, and using the alias Logan. Thank God, because I can't tell you how many times I've had to revise my script because I kept accidentally typing Logan. I'm trying to keep you guys immersed. Logan is also living with Jeff Goldblum. Oh, sorry, that's a different Silver Fox. Kayla Silver Fox, to be exact. His serious, long-term girlfriend who wears flannels and tells him folktales.
The Goikwatsu didn't know that once you leave the spirit world, you can never go back. And every night, he looks up in the sky and sees the moon and howls her name. But he can never touch her again.
Cuckoo got screwed.
Now, can anyone tell me what foreshadowing is? Meanwhile, in a carnival, we meet up with Bolt, who's now making a living as a sideshow attraction. He offers this couple 3 tries to turn off the light bulb and win a prize. This isn't important to the story, but I wanted to point out that when the man drops the light bulb and it shatters, he technically should have won that prize. This just shows that even in the movies, these carnival games are rigged as shit. He gets a knock on his door from his old buddy Victor, and something tells me he's not there to borrow sugar. Victor invites himself in, and Chris tries to explain that he's living a completely completely different life, and he's never told anyone about what they've done. It doesn't take long for him to realize why Victor's there, and he slashes Bolt to death in his trailer. Lights out, old chum. 3 days later, we see that Logan's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day. But this particular day is about to get a lot worse when he's visited by Stryker and Zero. Stryker informs Logan of Bolt's death, and also mentions that Wade was killed too. But don't worry, they didn't really kill off Deadpool just yet. They have to assassinate his character first. He says he doesn't know who's behind the killings, and he wants Logan to join him in figuring it out. But Logan is not about to trust this sketchy mofo anytime soon, and he departs with a classic Marvel one-liner.
Your country needs you. I'm Canadian.
After picking up Kayla, he makes sure to give us some fan service with that old Wolvie catchphrase.
Because I'm the best there is at what I do. But what I do best isn't very nice.
And Logan encounters his most formidable foes yet, rednecks. Their trucks are blocking the road, so Logan gets out to politely ask these gentlemen to leave. This, of course, starts an altercation that almost gets PG-13 brutal, until Kayla comes over to put a stop to it. I do like the subtle hints that there might be something different about Kayla, because once she touches this man's shoulder, he backs off. The next day, while Logan is chopping down some trees, Kayla finds a surprising visitor in the middle of the road. Icky Vicky is back, and Logan knows it too, so he rushes to his romantic plot device to find her lying bloodied in the woods. Logan pulls a Darth Vader and screams into the heavens as he holds her body in his arms, proving that he recycles his death reactions for all the women he loves. Logan tracks Victor down to one of those classic barn bars for down-on-their-luck farmers looking to get lucky. Should've just used farmers only, guys. But him and his brother's play fighting gets a little rough, and Logan is thrown into this passing truck where the driver just keeps on going? That guy's the real villain here. The fight ends when Victor stomps his brother's bone claws off, and he leaves before Logan can tell on him to their dad. Wait, Logan killed their dad. Never mind. The police show up and take Logan to a hospital, where Stryker's waiting to see him. Logan gets all grabby, wanting to know why his big bro is back in town, but Stryker's like, dude, I don't know.
I swear on my son's life!
Oh, that's clever. Logan wants revenge, but Stryker's all like, dude, he just kicked your ass 6 ways to Sunday, and he offers Logan some help in the form of the only reason this movie exists to begin with, the Weapon X program. You all know the story. Logan takes a bath and Stryker coats his bones in adamantium. There's nothing much to see here. Keep moving, keep moving. Of course, it gets to the part where everyone thinks that Logan is dead, but since this movie about Wolverine is only halfway over, we know that's impossible. Logan is now the Wolverine that everyone knows and tolerates. But Stryker's dumbass forgets that Wolverine has super senses and can hear when he tells his scientists to erase his memory and use his DNA for Weapon 11. This is the part where we see Logan's claws come out from an X-ray view, and it makes no sense because how does he bend his wrists if his claws are tucked away in there? Also, this movie completely contradicts those 2 flashback kills from X2 because there's no one around Logan when he comes out of the tank, and Logan isn't remembering it wrong because those were repressed memories to begin with. I'll just chalk that up to bad continuity. We know this series loves that. However, he does kill 2 soldiers trying to prevent his escape, so at least they tried to even it out somewhat. So now, armed with CG claws protruding from his hands, Logan cuts his way out of the base and makes like a drunk college freshman on spring break by jumping naked into a waterfall. Dude didn't even use a barrel. He finds himself hiding out in the barn of a friendly elderly couple, Heather and Travis Hudson.
I think there's a naked man in the barn.
Yeah.
They feed him and give him some clothes. When Logan excuses himself to the restroom, he and the audience get their first real look at the new adamantium claws, which unfortunately look like cartoons. They did use practical claws in the original trilogy, with only slight CG work, but in this movie, they went all out with CGI in as many shots as they can, which is unfortunate because the prop team did sculpt several great-looking practical claws that were used for filming. It's just a shame they got replaced with a PS3 render for the final cut. After some bonding over dinner and talking about motorcycles, they send Logan out to sleep in the barn. He doesn't even get to sleep on the couch? You guys are cold. The next day, Logan prepares to head out, but Travis comes by to give him some advice.
You know what happens to men who go looking for blood?
What?
They find it.
He gives Logan his son's jacket, who must have been 6'2" and just as ripped as Hugh Jackman, and Heather comes in with some breakfast. The fun ends, however, when Heather and Travis are shot and killed by Agent Zero, before Stryker orders an airstrike on the barn, and Logan makes it out completely unscathed and on a motorcycle. Hell yeah. You gotta give this movie credit where credit is due. It really is a spectacle. One thing I did find really neat was the fact that they actually built and destroyed a full-sized barn just for this scene. In fact, the film's stunt coordinator, J.J. Perry, said it was the biggest explosion he'd ever seen done on a film set. As Zero gets to the chopper, they chase him down with a minigun and miss every shot. Is this thing being piloted by stormtroopers? He flips a car, but in the spirit of Last Stand, I'm not gonna count that driver for the same reasons I think he could survive. On the other hand, Zero fires a missile into another car, and that dude is for sure a goner. After Logan slices the blades of the helicopter, it goes down and we see the body of the pilot, as Zero tries to communicate with Stryker over his headset. Logan Hugh-jacks the conversation, and vows to kill Victor and Stryker before lighting a fire with his claws and blowing up the helicopter, killing Agent Zero and presumably capping off this movie's $150 million budget. Another fun fact, just like the barn blowing up, the rest of the explosions were all practical effects too. They actually did flip a real Humvee, and for the helicopter crash, they had a shell of a helicopter ride down a cable before cutting the cable and letting it crash and burn. Obviously, Hugh Jackman was green screened in after the fact, which is why it admittedly looks a bit cheap. But you really have to admire the hard work the production crew put into making this look as amazing as possible. Also, I just really love the fact that they planned these elaborate stunt sequences using a little Wolverine action figure. That's adorable. As Logan continues on his personal vendetta, Stryker's panicking. His scientist friend here clues him in that the only thing that can take Logan down is an adamantium bullet. Chekhov would be proud. He's also getting chewed out by General Munson, who's overseeing his pet project, so he's not having a very good day. Oh hey, I actually forgot about this, but Cyclops is in this movie, a younger version played by Tim Pocock, who, fun fact, would go on to appear in Marvel's show Runaways for a single episode, so that's nice. Also, there was a deleted scene where a young Storm would show up too, but that was cut from the final project. I guess you can only have so much fan service apparently. Cyclops is being held after school for having a headache, I guess? And that's when Victor shows up and kidnaps him. Wow, they really let anybody into high schools these days. Logan may hate William, but he doesn't hate Will.i.am. He meets up with his old pal John and fills him in on the deets of what's going down. In return, John sets Logan up to get some information off their former army buddy Fred Dukes, who absolutely hates when you call him Bub.
Listen, I ain't leaving here till you tell me where Victor is. Come on, Bub, for old time's sake, huh?
Did you just call me Blob?
A cheesy boxing match ensues because superhero movies love their sports scenes, and when Logan wins, we get some of that sweet, sweet exposition. Turns out, after Logan left Team X, Stryker had them hunting down mutants and imprisoning them on an island for experimentation, in an attempt to create a super mutant with every power that Stryker so affectionately refers to as Weapon 11. It's also here that Logan finds out that Victor and Stryker are working together. Bitch, we been new.
You didn't know that?
After some intimidation with totally real claws, Blob mentions that a prisoner escaped the island once. A prisoner named Remy LeBeau. But on the island, he came to be known as Gambit. This whole movie was a gambit, honestly.
What's the end game?
A much better film. Wolverine and Kestrel find Gambit, played by Taylor Kitsch, conning people in a casino. Kestrel heads off to scope out the back, when Victor shows up. Now John is more of an Apollo Creed fan and decides to start a fight with this murderous maniac. After a few teleportation punches, Sabretooth catches Kestrel in his semi-corporeal state, and grabs him by the spine, yanking it out just below screen. Even though we don't get to see the final blow, we do get that gnarly shot of Victor gripping a man's spine from inside his body, so that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, Logan tries to convince Gambit to lead him to the island, but Gambit's all like, nah fam, but how about a quick game of solitaire though? And he blasts Logan into an alley like a more likable Chris Angel. Once Logan sees Victor, however, Gambit isn't important anymore, and Logan's revenge factor gets dialed up to 11.
2 years I rotting in that hell and I ain't never gonna...
They have another little tussle, and Logan has Victor pinned for the kill, but then Gambit with an RKO out of nowhere. Like, all of this could have ended right now. Why are you even here, dude? Go back to development hell with Channing Tatum. His little stunt offers Victor the chance to escape, and there's a fight between Logan and Remy that could have easily been avoided. Like, if you would just chill out for a minute, he can explain everything. Just put your stick away. Eventually it ends, and Gambit's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take you to the island, so that scene was kind of irrelevant. Back at Stryker's base, and after a little cameo from J Jason, General Munson starts checking out Weapon 11, which Stryker is creating to be a sort of mutant exterminator. Munson is all like, hey, I'm a military general in a superhero movie and even I know that shit's fucked up. Plus, your son is a mutant who killed your wife. Man, you need therapy, not biological warfare. And he shuts down the project. But Munson should have remembered that he's not the main villain in this movie because he gets stabbed with one of Weapon 11's soon-to-be wielded adamantium claws. Logan and Gambit are on their way to the island via helicopter that he won by gambling. Get it? Because his name's Gambit. Anyway, they make it to 3 Mile Island, and Logan jumps out of the helicopter to, I guess, swim to land? And he crashes their science party just as Stryker's putting the last touches on his mutant killer.
I needed your powers for the pool.
For the what?
The mutant killer. Deadpool.
And yes, if you couldn't figure it out by now, Weapon 11 is Wade Wilson. As Stryker gives his by now expected villainous monologue, it's revealed that Kayla is alive. Gasp! And she's working with Stryker. Double gasp! It turns out they faked her death in order to motivate Logan to partake in the experiment. She's also revealed to be a mutant who can influence people through touch, and she basically led Logan to where he is today using that power. I swear, Logan really can't catch a break.
It was never real, my friend.
It was real for me.
Victor's also there, watching from behind a veil like some kind of murderous voyeur. But we don't get a big final fight just yet, because Logan just leaves. Yeah, he just leaves. He decides it's not worth it anymore. Forget about all the kidnapped mutants being tortured. Like Kayla's sister, for example. She's being held prisoner to ensure Kayla's cooperation in tricking Logan. Stryker refuses to release her, and it turns out that he's breaking deals with everyone today, because he also promised Victor the adamantium procedure in return for his cooperation. You guys should really report his ass to the Better Business Bureau. So when Victor attacks Kayla, Logan hears her screams and rushes into an action-packed superhero showdown. That inevitably ends every one of these movies. And after some more super brief fisticuffs, Logan gets him pinned again. You'd think after serving in dozens of wars, Victor would have learned to fight by now. But it's at this point that the writers realized, oh shit, we can't kill Victor Creed, he's in the first movie and this is a prequel. So I guess Kayla appeals to Logan's humanity or whatever, and he lets Victor live, making basically the whole movie for naught. So Logan and Kayla head to the containment cells to rescue the prisoners from Stryker. And wait a minute, this all seems awfully familiar. Oh well, they rescue all the mutants, Cyclops murders 4 guards during his escape, and the kids get carried off to Xavier's school by Finn Wolfhard from It Chapter 2. Stryker orders Weapon 11 to activate, and here we get the absolute worst version of Deadpool since Liefeld's original creation.
Wait, is that you? Stryker finally figured out how to shut you up.
So now Deadpool has super strength, teleportation, laser eyes, adamantium blades in his arms, and a healing factor. You know, the only real ability that Deadpool has, and he doesn't even get to talk. They stab each other for a bit, but my interest is so dead that I should add it to the kill count metaphorically. Also, the whole time Deadpool is fighting, he's being controlled via computer by Stryker, like some sort of lethal text-based adventure game. Victor comes to Logan's aid.
Nobody kills you but me.
And they stab at Deadpool together until Logan decapitates him, and Deadpool's stupid-ass laser eyes destroy the cooling tower they're standing on. He falls in, and the brothers make it out alive. Stryker loads up his adamantium bullets, and prepares to head off to fight Wolverine with the stupidest plan imaginable.
His brain may heal, but his memories won't grow back.
Now, I'm only a psych student, but I think I can safely say that's not how that sort of thing works. But what do I know about healing factors? Back on the crumbling tower, Victor sees that Wade must be having a great time, so he jumps in too, only to show up again in the original X-Men, looking and acting inexplicably different. Logan is about to be crushed by debris when Gambit shows up and saves him.
You miss me?
Dude, you were gone for like 2 minutes. Kayla, however, was not so lucky, having taken a gunshot earlier and is slowly bleeding out. She confesses her love to Logan, and the two share one more smooch before walking into the sunset. But Stryker's still in this movie, and he shoots Logan through the back, causing Wolverine to charge at him like he's the Juggernaut, bitch. But a swift adamantium bullet to the head puts him down. Stryker double taps him for good measure. Also, I'm going to point this out now because it's always bothered me. Does anyone remember in Logan how he was planning to commit suicide with an adamantium bullet because it's the only thing that would kill him? So why does he take the same bullet straight to the face twice in this movie and he's just left with amnesia? Before he can finish off Kayla, however, she grabs his leg and forces him to throw the gun away?
I should make you pull the trigger. But that would make us no better than you.
Yes, it would! He's a bad, bad man! But like Sabretooth, they need him to be alive in X2. So Kayla just tells him to walk until his feet bleed. You really couldn't think of anything better? She's bleeding out on the ground, we'll give her a pass. Logan awakens with no memories. Because Spider-Man 3 did amnesia so well, this movie had to follow that strategy. And Gambit comes back after doing absolutely nothing useful like he's done the whole movie. Logan doesn't recognize him, so he tries the Heisenberg test.
What's my name? What's my name?
And Gambit passes with flying colors.
Your name is Logan.
As they run off to Gambit's helicopter, they find Kayla lying dead on the ground, having unfortunately succumbed to her wounds. I guess it's true what they say, love hurts.
Do you know her?
No.
And then Logan just decides that he doesn't want a ride back, so what is the point of you being here, Remy? The movie ends with Logan running into the unknown, saddened by the loss of a woman he doesn't remember. But it's not over yet, because we have not one but two post-credit scenes. Yay, more movie. The first one involves some soldiers finding Stryker wandering down a road, and telling him that he has to come back to base to be questioned about Munson's death. You remember that guy? I sure don't. The second scene takes place at 3 Mile Island, at the bottom of the cooling pit, where we see that Wade Wilson is alive and able to open his mouth now. Given that we got the official Deadpool movie 7 years later, I do wonder what the solo film based on this version of the character would have looked like. Probably what the Sonic the Hedgehog movie would have looked like with the original design. Ugh. In total, I counted 68 kills in X-Men Origins Wolverine, a respectable number. However, the majority of those are unnamed soldiers. The Platinum Batarang for coolest kill goes to Agent Zero, because he died in an explosion that Logan movie walks away from in slow motion. It's very cheesy and very extra, and I really love it. The Rusty Shield for lamest kill goes to, well, take your pick. Kayla, who bled out, the Hudsons, who didn't deserve it, Bolt, who got slashed off screen, or the many, many unnamed soldiers. I guess Kestrel's death was fine? X-Men Origins Wolverine was released in 2009, and while it was a financial success, it was absolutely panned by fans and critics alike. But it made money, and money means more movies. Which means next time, we'll be looking at the far superior X-Men prequel, X-Men First Class. See you then, super friends.